the star, them there.
We a top man, we take charge. Have no drink and we a shell down hard. Blast like a star in some gallopar.
Overdo it, we take it too far.
Take charge, take charge.
We a hot gal, we set the trend. Magnum we drink for the top man them. Wine with the style, no stop from spin. Hot blend, back bend, and take charge, take charge.
Magnum tonic wine for the real star, them.
Take charge, take charge.
Must be 18 or older, drink responsibly.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Well, hi there. Very good morning to you. Time to welcome you to Voices on WINN FM 90.9. First of all, let's apologize for the late start to the program. We had some technical challenges which we are sorting out, but I think we managed to get the program on the air right now. And good morning to you wherever you are and whatever you're doing right now. I want to thank you so much for choosing WINN FM 90.9. I'm Clive Backer sitting in for Devonne Cornelius. Well, Devonne is not absent. He's just not in the studio. As a matter of fact, he's on the beautiful island of Nevis. Let's say good morning to Mr. Devonne Cornelius. Morning, Devonne.
Good morning, Mr. Bacchus. How are you?
Well, you tell me. You are on Nevis this morning. What's the weather like? What's happening in Nevis today?
Well, it is a bit rainy, but the place is calm. Everything is fine. I spent my morning in Charlestown at the magistrate court, where I was on the outside waiting for the guests who breached the COVID-19 protocols at the Four Seasons to appear before the magistrate. However, I was made to understand by a reliable source that these guests would be doing their appearance via Zoom. And so even though it was a bit of a disappointment for me, as I wanted to see exactly what was going to happen, and I'm hoping to follow up with someone from inside as to what the charges will be like and how will they leave Nevis after they have been charged. Well, that is how I spent my morning. It was a morning well spent, and I will be on top of this story following up, because many people are wondering, what will the authorities do? What will the authorities do? Because this is a serious offense. Here in St Kitts and Nevis, I mean, we have been doing relatively well with managing the pandemic. And then you have people who are coming for vacation, and they're being asked to vacation in place, and they decide that, well, I'm going to do what I want to, and I'm going to leave quarantine and risk and put other lives at risk. And so I hope that it will not be a slap on the wrist, and I hope that the authorities would send a clear message that you just can't come here and do as you feel like.
If we back up a bit, Devonne, for those listeners who are not sure exactly what we're talking about, can you fill them in to the backstory? What has led to this engagement today?
Well, sometime last week, between Thursday, March 11th and Saturday, March 13th, some 8 guests before Seasons Resort Nevis breached COVID-19 protocols. On the Thursday evening, they left the resort for approximately 2 hours. And then on another occasion, I think it was on the Saturday evening into the early hours of Saturday morning, they went to a night spot on Nevis. And so they breached the protocols, COVID-19 protocols, without authorization from the hotel. And these guests were supposed to be vacationing in place. They were supposed to be basically in quarantine, isolated away from the local population. And so they breached protocols, and the police, the COVID-19 task force, they were made aware of the breach, and they were able to get a hold of them. As it is now, well, after they got a hold of them, I understand that they had to place them in government quarantine, according to a source from the police force. And so they were placed in quarantine, and they are now, waiting to hear how much they would be charged. So they came here as part of a group. I think the group was 120 guests, and 8 of them breached quarantine protocols at the resort. As it is now, Mr. Bacchus, I was made to understand that the unnamed night spot that the officials did not name, they had to quarantine some of their employees, specifically from in the bar area. And so some employees right now will be home until the 25th day of March, because they have been asked to self-quarantine, as a precautionary measure. And so that is basically what took place. These guests, they came here for vacation, and 8 of them reached COVID protocols. And so the COVID-19 task force, they had to act quickly, and they had to put them into quarantine. And I think, as it is now, they are still conducting contact tracing. I have been made aware that a number of individuals on St Kitts and Nevis, because there were people who came over from St Kitts to go to the bar that night, that they have been placed in quarantine, and persons on Nevis as well have been placed in quarantine.
Now, pertaining to the testing of these individuals, the group 120 strong, 112 we can assume behaved, 8 misbehaved, and of course they have seized the headlines as whenever you depart from what is expected, the norm, breaching quarantine. The talk is about the 8 and the 112. Nobody talks about the 112 that obeyed the requirements and everything else. But getting back to the testing issue, on arrival, they would have been tested. Those who left the quarantine facility were negative or positive at the time, and do you know whether or not there was any testing after they were put now in a government facility since their breach of that quarantine?
Well, Mr. Bacchus, I was made to tested negative. However, the COVID-19 task force and the government still took the decision, as of course, precautionary measure, to quarantine individuals who were in contact with these guests. As I said, some employees from the local night spot on Nevis, they were placed in quarantine, and some people from St Kitts and, of course, here in Nevis were placed in quarantine. And so I was made to understand that they tested negative, but as a precautionary measure, they had to quarantine them. Now, they are appearing, I would assume that the session is probably over by now, and so I will be following up with my source to see what the charges were like. But they are currently in government quarantine. I don't know if they probably left already, I don't know, but as it is, as of this morning at 8 o'clock, they were still in quarantine at the government site. And I am not sure, Mr. Bacchus, if they tested them again. I don't know whether, if they tested them, if the results were positive, if the results were negative. I am yet to find out if the guests would be leaving via a charter, if they would be leaving via a commercial flight. And so these are some of the unanswered questions. When I made contact with the police yesterday, Superintendent David, he did not provide much details, as well as Superintendent Colonel Henry. And so they were not as clear with the information that they were giving. But these are some of the unanswered questions. We are waiting to hear what the charges were like. We are waiting to hear if they were tested again after being placed in government quarantine at the government quarantine facility, and we are waiting to hear if they have left the Federation and how will they leave. These are very important questions, Mr. Bacchus. One would say that, oh, you don't deserve to know. But I mean, again, you're coming here to vacation in place. You're coming to a country that has no community spread and that has been doing quite well with managing the COVID-19 virus here. And if you're going to come from a hot spot, whether it be the UK, maybe Europe or United States of America, you just can't come here and do as you like. We would appreciate if when guests come here, they follow the protocols. And that's all we're asking for, that they follow the protocols. And so these are some of the unanswered questions, and these are some of the questions that not just me, Mr. Bacchus, not just you, but the general public, the Nevisian public, of course, and by extension, the people of St Kitts and Nevis would like to know. I mean, I've been following social media for the past few days. There has been some serious chat on Facebook, and people have been saying, I wonder if they're going to charge them big bucks. I wonder if they're going to charge them small bucks. I'm not saying that you should charge them big bucks because they come from the UK or they come from America or whatever and assume that they have money. But if you're going to come to a country and you're being asked to quarantine and you're going to get up and decide to break quarantine, you should suffer the consequences. That is how I feel about it. Because if I go to Antigua right now or any other country that does the quarantine thing, and they ask me to stay in put for how many days, that is what I'm going to do. Because I understand that I could pose a risk to the local population.
Now, just remind us again, the group 120 strong, 8 now in government quarantine, facing the magistrate's court, we're told this morning. What about the rest of the group?
Well, I understand that they left already. I think they left on Sunday. They were scheduled to leave on Monday, but they left on Sunday. I don't know why they left on Sunday, because if you ask me, the 112 guests, they did not finish quarantine. And so I don't know what took place at that time, but I can tell you that sources have said that they left the country already, but the additional 8 is still here to answer charges for breaking quarantine. But the other 112 guests, they have left the Federation of St Kitts and Nevis. I don't know whether they left via charter or they left via in commercial flight. They came in and they went out, and nobody knows, Mr. Bacchus. But as it is now, I understand that they have left the Federation.
All right, thank you very much, Devonne. We'll keep in contact with you and provide updates to our listeners as soon as they're available. But thank you so much.
Definitely. Have a good day, man.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, Devonne Cornelius, WINN FM's intrepid reporter, host of this program, Voices, assigned to Nevis this morning, following that magistrate's court matter. 8 guests who, on 2 separate occasions, on Thursday and Saturday, 2 breached on Thursday, 6 on Saturday, facing charges. I think the fine is $5,000 EC dollars for breaching quarantine. I don't know what other charges they will be facing, but hopefully we'll have all those updates coming your way as soon as they're available from Mr. Devonne Cornelius. And I want to let you know we have with us a guest, Mr. Jefferson Pemberton is with us today, and we'll be speaking to him in just a moment. Mr. Pemberton is the president of the East Bus Association. I think some people call it the East Line Bus Association. We'll ask him to clear that up for us and ask him how things have been progressing since the group voiced their ongoing frustration with operations at the East Bus Terminal. Let's hear from our partners, Rams Trading, and also from Flow this morning. Let's say good morning to Rams and good morning to Flow as well.
You need a drink, have a Viva, Viva. You want some fun, get a Viva, Viva. Taste the flavor, have a Viva, Viva. Oh yeah, Viva is the one. Say goodbye to boring. Let me hear you sing. Got much better.
Viva Sparkling Flavored Water. Water, but better.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Yes, indeed. You tune to WINN FM. It's 90.9 on your dial. www.winnfm.com. WINNSKNmedia.com as well. And we have with us Mr. Pemberton of the East Line or East Bus Association. We're going to get to the clear name of the organization because we have media reports with both names. But before we speak to Mr. Pemberton, we'll play for you a bit of what we've been covering, what our story said, and get some reaction from Mr. Pemberton as he clears up the East Line versus East Bus Association, and of course bring us up to date with exactly how things have developed. But here is what we had in our news.
Ease the squeeze. Members of the East Line Bus Association chanted in front of the government headquarters Monday, March 15th. But let me back up a bit. Prior to the demonstration on Church Street, WINN was on the scene at the East Line Bus Terminal on Wellington Road and was greeted with a terminal that could be likened to a ghost town. I was able to speak with Jefferson Pemberton, president of the East Line Bus Association.
Over the years, the government has promised us through the ministry, which was then led by me and Patrice Lyman, and those promises were not fulfilled. In fact, in Parliament, they mentioned that they would be assisting us in whatever way to help us to apply our trade, and that was not done. Now, I have written to numerous government officials, had meetings with them about our situation, and up to today we are seeing no results. So the guys, the members, they are frustrated, they're fed up, and they're saying enough is enough.
The issues, as stated by Pemberton, are a lack of police presence, other bus drivers soliciting passengers from outside the terminals, ineffective crossing guards, and infrastructure issues. On that last issue of infrastructure, the Public Relations Officer Ronald Isaac, also known as Country, elaborated on the issue of 2019 buses having issues with navigating the queue as it was reportedly not wide enough.
Last December they were supposed to rectify in here because the Commissioner of Police reached in here since in March, and they mark out 3 spots here with Public Works, 3 spots in the queue because the queue is too narrow, and the police commissioner, as I said before, came in here, then Public Works came, mark out 3 spots where they need to cut. And that is since December last year. And up to now, nothing. December 2020, and up to now, nothing.
Pemberton made these recommendations: more communication and participation from the government, police presence, and the consensus among bus drivers to follow protocols. As I was speaking to Pemberton, a queue of East Line buses effectively blocked the entrance and exit of the bus terminal. That blockade trapped vehicles in the terminal, and it was later reported by a caller on Monday's Voices that the buses were ticketed. After a short demonstration at the East Line bus terminal, the drivers walked through town, pickets in hand, and ended up in front of the government headquarters, hoping to get an answer, a response, a way to ease the squeeze. It seems like the squeeze has indeed been eased for the East Bus Association. The members of the East Bus Association are back out to work one day after a very public demonstration in Bastille. Monday, March 15th, members of the East Bus Association began protest action at the East Bus Terminal. 14 omnibuses blocked the entrance and exit of the terminal during the industrial action. WINN confirmed that the 14 buses were ticketed at EC $100 each, and 3 of those buses were also towed at a cost of EC $175 each. Interestingly enough, one of the main complaints from the association was a lack of police presence at the terminal, and yet the police turned out to perform their duty by ticketing the drivers for the buses that were illegally parked in protest. President of the East Bus Association, Jefferson Pemberton, confirmed that representatives of the association met with members of the cabinet on Monday to discuss their concerns. He declined to provide details of the meeting but told WINN a press release from the government was expected shortly. Pemberton also told WINN that the authorities had waived the fines imposed on the drivers for obstruction on Monday. Can we call this a win for the Bus Association?
Let's say a very good morning to Mr. Pemberton. Mr. Pemberton, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, it's good to have you in the studios of WINN FM, and you heard yourself in the news, man.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here too.
All right, good to have you here. What do you make of our news items? Are we on the ball? Are we inaccurate? Did we tell the story?
Definitely, Mr. Backus, you're on the ball.
Well, thank you very much for that. I will pass on your compliments to Mr. Kevin Brown, who did all the hard work and who interviewed you, was on the spot. And I wanted to have a chat with you. I'm glad that you could find the time today because I'm going to ask you that question. Is it East Line or East Bus Association?
East Side Bus Association.
So East Side?
Yes, East Side.
So it's not East Line and it's not East, it's East Side.
East Side Bus Association.
So this has been a secret? This has been a secret, man? How come everybody calling and talking a different thing, man?
No, it's not a secret. Some prefer to say East Line, some prefer to say East Side or East.
But the name of the association is
East Side Bus Association.
All right. I want to ask you a bit about the bus business. You're operating a service, and your service runs, as described, the east side of the island. Tell us a little bit about the bus business. What is it that you actually do in the trade, in the bus trade? I know, obviously, you move people. But what does it take to get this done? And what are some of the issues that you're dealing with? Because one of the things I've heard, and I'm actually going on a bit, but just bear with me a bit. One of the things I've heard is that people don't want to come off at a particular spot. They want to go further than the terminal. They want to go perhaps deeper into Bastia. So tell us how the business runs and what are some of the things that you have to deal with.
Okay, Mr. Backus, I believe that the traveling public might be misled or they didn't really understand what is really happening. And now, over the years, the field that I'm in has been too much for us. In other words, there's a lot of buses that are on the road. Yes, we know that people must work. We are not preventing or saying to people you can't come into that field. But what we find is that there are a lot of persons who are operating buses that they are not fully cooperative with the law. Some they don't carry themselves in the way that they should to operate the business. One of the things that we are saying is that everyone must allow each other in local parlance to eat, to get a fair share of the pie. Our main concern is buses that are coming from the Bay Road. We are not saying that buses or passengers should not be taken to the Bay Road. But if you choose to operate from the Bay Road, there should be no soliciting of passengers after you leave or you left the Bay Road, traveling east towards the terminal to Keon. And what is happening, buses that are coming from down that side, they would solicit passengers who are traveling towards the terminal. The government has spent a lot of money and time into constructing that facility. And I don't think that persons who choose to apply the trade at the terminal should be stopped by persons who choose to disobey or break the law. And that is one of our main concerns. If the police do their job and police the area, I believe that thing will run smoothly.
Now, you're coming east to the terminal, and the buses coming from the Bay Road are coming from, they're traveling, they're heading east now.
East.
In your direction.
Yes.
So they're leaving west and heading east. And they're doing what? They're picking up your customers from the terminal and bringing them into town, or they taking them into the eastern areas?
No, most of the buses, they're coming from east, traveling into town.
Right.
But it's not all of the buses run from the Bay Road all day.
Mm-hmm.
There are some who choose to apply their trade daily from the Bayfront, traveling east to go to Molineux and to Sadlers. What we are saying is that passengers have a choice whether they want to go down the Bay Road and catch a bus, a Bay Road bus, or they could walk to the terminal. But what is happening after persons have done their shopping or their business in town, some will walk towards the terminal. So what the buses are doing, the persons that they are seeing walking towards the terminal, they will stop and solicit them to come on their bus, which is not appropriate, not legal, because there's no bus stop in that area. And to make it worse, they will stop in front of the gate of the terminal and ask passengers to come. And we think that is wrong.
So the buses that are basically picking up people have seen an opportunity. The opportunity is that people want to move around town beyond the terminal, and people want to be transported with their goods if they went shopping or whatever it is they're doing. They want to move from where they are to where they're going. They don't want to fetch those things to the ferry terminal or to the bus terminal or to any terminal. They just want to move. And you as a busman yourself, among other things, you would recognize that some people at one point wanted to be dropped right in front of the home. They don't want to come off of the street.
Yes, we recognize that.
So the busmen who are picking up people, I'm not justifying it. I don't hope nobody hears me saying that I support the busmen doing this. I'm just looking at it from the point that there is an opportunity here for people who may go to Rams, want to go east, but would have to fetch their goods from Rams all the way to the ferry terminal to get a bus, when a busman could pull up and say, hey, you're going east, and they jump on the bus. But you're saying, from what I'm hearing you say, is that there are no bus stops, so therefore they should not be stopping and picking up people. And then you have a regulation that says you must work from the terminal, so there's some unfair competition. Do I have it right?
Yes, you have it right.
So when you discuss that, there is a governing body for the bus associations. Is there not? Is there some sort of a board or something that runs?
Well, we have a transport board.
Transport board.
Yes, that governs all the activities that are done by the taxi and the buses. To me, the transport board has a certain amount of power, but most of the time the transport board just make recommendations to the minister. And the transport board has been very effective, because we will query in fact, the transport board is open to anyone who wants to make a query or a report. They will listen, and they will make their recommendations to the relevant authorities. But we have been making these reports. I've written time and time again to different persons in government. Some I got response, some I didn't. And they will sit with us and they will listen. But the wheels of progress was very slow. And that is one of the reasons why we had that protest, because guys, they just get fed up. Real fed up. It seems as though nobody's listening, and we had to take a stand.
So you decided to dung tools, so to speak. You decided to protest because you have tried to solve the issue through regular channels.
Yes.
And because you didn't get satisfactory responses, you decided to do something about it, and you picketed at government headquarters.
Yes.
What was the reaction? What did people say to you when they saw you with pickets in front of government headquarters?
Well, some applauded us, and some was not pleased. They said some words that was not nice. But we understand everybody have their own opinion. And I think to some misunderstood why we were doing what we did. We are not saying that buses should not operate from the Bay Road. All we are saying is that if you choose to operate from the Bay Road, the passengers that are traveling towards the terminal, because there's no bus stop, leave them and allow them to go towards the terminal. And even so, the buses that are operating from the Bay Road, they have that opportunity to come through the terminal, because if you're coming from the country and you have persons who are close by, who are working close by, they have to go through the terminal to put them off. So why then you can't leave the person that are walking towards the terminal to just continue to walk towards the terminal? And I find that we as Kittitian, we don't like change. And if we are evolving to be international country, there are a lot of changes that has to come with that, and we have to adapt to these changes.
So since your action, I think you told reporter Kevin Brown that you had a meeting with Cabinet and you didn't want to say much about it. You wanted to await the Cabinet's public response before you said anything. But how did you feel at that meeting?
The meeting was very fruitful. I was listening and I haven't heard any release yet, so I have to be careful on what I say. I don't want to go ahead of the government, but the meeting was very fruitful. What I can say though, Mr. Bacchus, is that we are start seeing changes as of yesterday. Work on the terminal should get started as soon as Monday coming. So in the near future, changes will progress. So we are patient. We are waiting to see, if the government will be backing up their words. And so far, we see that there is something that has been done, and we're looking forward in working and cooperating with them in the future.
Now, when you said infrastructure, remind our listeners as to what were some of the issues you had, the association, not you, Mr. Pemberton, but the association had with the construction aspect of the terminal.
One of the things that we were concerned about was emergency. If there was an emergency, it's very difficult. In fact, when they consulted with us before the construction of the facility, there should have been removable bars. In case of emergency, you can easily move it and a bus gets out and go on its way.
So you're saying rather than have a solid wall,
yes,
you have something that can actually move?
That's correct.
Okay.
But that was not done. The other thing too, the entrance is very small. So it makes it difficult for buses to maneuver, especially into the Molyneux queue. So what we were asking for is to widen that area, that's entrance area, so it makes it easy. A lot of the operators, they lost tires, new tires, trying to get inside the queue. No one to refund them for their tires. So that's all we were asking for. So I am happy to report that construction will start Monday. We were sure that, and we are waiting for Monday to see that materialize.
Well, I think one or two drivers refer to the East Line terminal as the prison. Why did they choose that term, the prison?
That name was given, among other names, to us by the Bay Road drivers. Apparently, I'm just assuming that because of the bars that are on the fence, they call it a prison. Some people, passengers, bus drivers, feel that the terminal is too far, but that is beyond the point because it's already built. We cannot do anything about it. We just have to, adjust. So they would call it the prison, they would call it the pigsty, and many other names, which it's a good facility. We are not saying that it's not it's a good one, because where we operated from before, we didn't have any bathroom, so bus drivers would go down in the drain to, urinate and so on, and it was very distasteful. So we are glad that we have a better facility. In fact, the passengers are enjoying it, because you walk there and you want to relax to meet a friend, you can sit down and relax and meet your friend. So it's a very good facility. But based on where we are, we're not in prison. People may feel that they are just saying that because they don't want to come in. And in fact, they come through there a lot of times. Those same persons who are calling into prison, they would drive through to pick up and drop off passengers without going into the queue.
I'm listening to you speak, and I can recall the days when the buses had to line up on the street. It was a narrow street as well, so it was problematic. So
very much so.
The new terminal offered a sort of an upscale to what you had before, but there were always concerns about the infrastructure in terms of the driveway and the queuing and all that. I'm glad to hear that there's going to be some movement in that regard. I'm here from our partners in a minute, and I'm going to come right back to you and ask you whether or not you've had discussions with other associations so you can be of one accord. But let's hear from our partners first. Let's hear from Rams and from Flo.
For an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV, connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD, plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
You're tuning to WINN FM, it's 90.9 on your dial, and we're speaking to Mr. Jefferson Pemberton, the president of the East Side Bus Association. And we're pleased to have you in our company as well, and you're listening to Voices on WINN FM 98.9. So we were just speaking moments ago about some of the developments, and I posed the question before we took that opportunity to hear from our partners about dialogue and discussion. Now you have the East Side Association. I think you may have two others, if I'm not mistaken. Do you have like a meeting, general meeting, perhaps to discuss the issues either at the executive level or at the membership level to say, look, let's be of one accord, let's agree on what we will do and what we will not do, because we are in the guava season and everybody hustling because we need to pay our bills, and you have many, many vehicles on the road. The demands are there from our children, the demands are there from our wives or a girlfriend, our husband if you're a female driver. It's a tough time. So do we agree on what we will do and what we won't do? What has happened in that regard?
Mr. Bacchus, I have sat with the other presidents and discussed other things. And I have shared my concern to them. And right now we are at loggerhead with that, because one of the association is the problem. They seem to be afraid of dealing with the matter. So there is no cooperation when it comes to that, because you can't have one association and its members suffering because are being brutalized, for want of a better word, from members of another association. And if we're going to continue in that way, then we're not going to get anywhere. You know, other associations feel that their members have the right to do this and to do that. And we at the same time, our members, we are trying our best to uphold the law. When some persons they feel that breaking the law is the better thing to do. And what is so sad is that sometimes when they're doing that, police officers, traffic wardens, they're around and they actually turn in their backs. And these are some of the things that we shared with the cabinet because we take these things very serious. If everyone follow the law, then I think things will go smoothly. And I just want to interject here, Mr. Bacchus, that there would be, we are pushing for certification of bus drivers. In fact, training should have started since before the COVID. But because the COVID-19 struck, that had to be put off. So a lot of the things that bus operators are doing, that would be obsolete when certification starts. Everybody who is operating must be certified. They must go through the program. If not, you cannot operate a passenger bus.
So what would that certification involve?
It will be involved in training, teaching us how to groom ourselves properly, how to teaching us about customer service, and there's so many things that it will entail. It is I think is a 2 weeks program. We will train you for 2 weeks, and after such training, then you will be certified.
And this is going to be done by the associations?
No, this will be done by the
board?
The transport board and the ministry.
Okay, so the transport board and the ministry will give you a sort of accreditation.
Yes.
So you will be allowed to operate as a bus driver under certain conditions.
That's correct.
If you breach those conditions, or a condition that's let's say, you agree that you should not be poaching, for want of a better word. So you have men who behaving themselves, joining the line, and you're giving them a creep up. You just pull up on the side, thief the customers, and take off while they're in the queue, cussing you. You go on with the customers anyway. So when that happens, you can now be dealt with by saying, well, you will not be allowed to operate. Is that what you're thinking of doing?
That's correct. And the board would be given more power. In fact, the police too would be given more power through legislation to deal with these matters. And what we are proposing also is that the buses would be zoned. The buses would be zoned. So one would not be able to, if you are operating from Molyneux to Sadlers, you would not be allowed to operate down to Sandy Point.
Well, didn't you have a system before? Weren't you some years ago looking at having numbers on the buses that would say where you can go, where you can't go, what times you could be on the road, what times you can't be? Wasn't that something you discussed before?
Yes, we discussed that before, but that was just in the air. But it is really being thought about when we recommend it to the authorities, and that is something that will be done shortly. It was really considered, and I think that if we do that, then we'll get a better operations from all those who apply in the trade in this industry.
The thing about the bus trade, whether it's in St Kitts and Nevis, in Guyana, in Jamaica, it's a hustle. So you're trying to bring order to what has been traditionally a hustle, because many of us know a busman will never stop in the corner. Because if he pulls in the corner, the competition is going to go past him and get the other passengers up the road. So he stops in the middle of the road, so not only to put off and take on a passenger, but to ensure the competition don't get past him.
That is true.
It has been that kind of a hustle in the region. So you're saying now you're trying to bring some order to that by having this accreditation process, the certification process, with penalties. But do you think there's a mood for that? You already told me earlier that one of the bus association is not playing ball. So how are you going to get this done?
Well, it would be compulsory. Anyone who want to apply to work in that industry, they have to go through that certification process. And we're not saying that we're going to stop anyone from being certified, but we give you the opportunity to do so. Because here's what happened. We are depending upon tourism. And if tourists comes here and they decide to take a bus, whether to go to Scenic Really or to go to Sandy Point, you as an operator must know how to deal with these tourists. And apart from the tourists, you have to know how to deal with your passengers. You have to treat your passengers with respect. And a lot of passengers, they welcome this decision, because I have heard passengers complain that bus operators, they don't speak to them properly, a lot of noise on the bus in terms of music, and it makes them very uncomfortable. And if they ask the bus operator to turn it down, they would get some nice words, you know. So we are trying to make the business more professional.
Now, what are the bus drivers saying? I know there's some level heads who are trying to make it more professional, but there's some people who don't want any change. They like it so because it's working for them. We have different demographics as well. Some people who want to hear the hottest, loudest music because that's what they like when they're traveling, and others are saying that's noise. So how do you strike the balance now if you're not meeting under an umbrella to say, well, look, everybody can't be happy in this. We have to find the middle road that works for everybody in terms of the industry. Are you confident that you can get the buy-in? Because if not, you're going to have a problem again.
I am confident that when we go through that process, that person's going to fall in line. And I think majority of the bus operators on the island, the federation, both St Kitts and Nevis, would applaud that move.
Getting back to the nitty-gritty of the business now, you've had to make adjustments. You had 2020, a year that you're not likely to forget. Many of us will not forget 2020. And you've had to survive with COVID-19 protocols. How is the business these days? How are you guys managing to deal with the person who calls and asks you for the last payment for the bus, and I haven't heard from you recently? How are you guys dealing with those issues?
Well, Mr. Bacchus, right now, the guys, some of us are driving the bus with a shaky feeling, you know, looking out to see whether the bailiff or somebody going to stop them and repossess the vehicle. Because since the COVID things have been really bad for some, in fact for all. And I try to get some things to Social Security in order to assist us. We applied when they were given that little grant, but to no avail. A lot of the guys didn't get anything. Yes, I know a lot of them were not registered as self-employed, so that is something that we're working on to try to get them to get self-employed coverage, because it's important. And this is important because of what happened during the COVID. No, it is frightening, Mr. Bacchus. It is frightening. And that's another reason to why a lot of the guys decided to join the protests, because they can't take it anymore in terms that they don't have any money to even pay their business license, because their take-home pay, sometimes when they put gas in and so on, they only have maybe $90, $100, and that's reality. So if things are put in place in terms of proper policing and the crossing, the traffic warden, if they do their jobs, then things would be better for us at the East Bus Terminal.
Well, I want to wish you and your team all the very best, Mr. Pemberton. I know it's not an easy job. It's not an easy time for anyone at this time. And I know that I've met one or two busmen who have told me that they pleaded with the company that gave them the bus to no avail, and the bus was taken back by the company, even though they said, give us a little break, give us some time. The company also having a hard time decided that, look, it's not worth the risk. Have you as an association reached out to, some business in the business community saying, look, give our guys a break? How can we renegotiate the payment? I mean, because there's some men who are walking now who used to be driving.
Well, no one approached me in that matter in terms of telling me a banker took their bus or the company, but I am willing to go and speak with their banker if they bring that information to me. I don't think that the banker wants to take their bus. Maybe that would be the last resort. But sometimes you have to go in and negotiate, and even maybe refinance. So if that case is being brought to me, then I'll be willing to go and speak on their behalf.
Excellent. Last thing, before we go to the headline news, now there's still that window between the terminals. You have the East Terminal, you have the West Terminal, and then you have people who are in between that area, in shopping areas, in supermarkets, buying produce on the street and all that. How do you predict this will work out?
Well, we discussed that with Cabinet, and as I said, I don't want to probe too much in certain things, but the government is working on something. They're considering something.
Are you optimistic that there is... well, I'm not going to pick on the government. The government is beyond my pay grade. I'm talking about you when you look at the reality. There's a reality you're dealing with.
Yes.
All right? When you look at the reality that people don't want to fetch nothing too far away from the Caribbean. We want to pick up your thing and go in transportation, right? We don't want to walk too far and so on. So there's a gap between the two terminals, right? So what do you think there's likely to be something that will work for everybody?
Yes, we took that into
You have to tell us what the plan is, Just tell us if you think that there's a plan.
We took that into consideration and we made a recommendation.
Okay.
And it's a recommendation that would assist persons in that vacuum, in that gap.
All right. Any final comments you want to share with our listeners before you go?
Yes, I just want to say to the listening public that we are here to assist the traveling public. Of course, we everything we do is not perfect, but we are open to criticism. We are open to suggestion. Feel free to come and speak with me or any one of the executive. If you don't want to speak to anybody else on the executive, you can feel free to come and speak with me. I will listen to you, and I will try and see how I can best assist.
Well, Mr. Jefferson Pemberton, once again, I want to compliment you for taking the time to come sit with us and explain yourself to the public. Thank you so much, and all the very best to you and the hard-working bus drivers.
Thank you.
All the best to you, sir.
Thank you.
You're tuned to WINN FM 90.9. We want to thank Mr. Jefferson Pemberton for being here with us today. He's the president of the East Side Bus Association, and he was explaining to us about the business. And we want to thank him once again and his team. And we now will bring you the headline news right here on WINN FM 90.9. Thanks once again to Flo and Rams Trading.
Found the sound. 98.9 WINN FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
With the WIN Headline News, I am Kevon Brown. Making the headlines, Food for Creative Souls initiative clearing a path for youth in media. 3 bills to be introduced in the National Assembly on Thursday. A terminated Barbadian Liat pilot files class action suit. Internationally, 8 people, many of them women of Asian descent, have been killed in shootings at spas in the U.S. state of Georgia. Now, the details. Food for Creative Souls is an educational initiative based and operating in the Caribbean, offering creative boot camps, mentorships, scholarship assistance, portfolio development, and networking events, according to their website. The mission is to strengthen the Caribbean creative sector by being a source of support, growth, and knowledge for persons driven by their creative passions and creating opportunities. Art director and creative strategist Nadia Mills, point person for Food for Creative Souls, in an interview on WINN's Island Tea Tuesday, March 16th, spoke about her experience in the U.S. as being the only person of color or one of the few who were in the classroom, intern pool, and advertising agencies.
The industry is it's a niche group of people, right? And it's a very tiny door to get into. And there's not a lot of what you would call minorities in the U.S., so persons like myself, persons of color. So quite often I was the only person of color in the classroom, in the agencies, among my intern group. And you kind of go, well, there's a lot of talented people, why aren't they in this room? You know, right. And you realize the kind of ideas that are being pumped out, how it influences our experience of life, and you realize these voices are critical. Right. And we need to have them in the room.
Mills explained and went on to indicate that she has observed that currently in the U.S. there's a strong push for diversity and opportunities for people abroad, especially in the Caribbean, to enter the advertising industry.
What's going on in the U.S. is that there's a very strong push for diversity, and right now there's a really big opportunity for persons abroad in the Caribbean to enter the advertising industry. I think it's the first time that tiny door has been opened a lot wider. And I would love to see a lot more Caribbean people, especially from St. Kitts, in the advertising industry and sharing their stories and experiences.
Mills has expertise in graphic design and art direction and worked for some advertising companies in the U.S. such as Ogilvy, BBDO, and Bright House before she ultimately decided to come home to be a mentor for young people who wish to traverse the creative world as their career. Currently, Food for Creative Souls, in collaboration with the Department of Youth Empowerment, is hosting an 8-week creative boot camp, which started in February and will ultimately culminate to a ceremony and panel discussion on March 27th to close the boot camp. The participants include students from the Youth Media Group within the Department of Youth Empowerment, and Mills is providing her expertise and network for free to elevate the creative industry in the Federation.
This boot camp is a partnership with the Department of Youth Empowerment. They have a really great group called the Youth Media Group, and I essentially share my knowledge for free with all these students, ranging from copywriting, photography, strategy, art direction, anything creative. I openly share with my students.
With Mills, during the interview, was one of the participants who gave her testimony of what she experienced during the boot camp.
Like Nadia said, I've been a part of the boot camp twice now, first in 2019 and now this year. I've always had an interest in the creative industry, and I could definitely say that because of the boot camp, I've realized that this is probably the career, like the path that I would probably go down. Nadia her knowledge is beyond what I could explain. I've learned a lot from the boot camp and a lot of careers that I've never even heard of. From this boot camp, I learned about a new career that I never even knew existed, which is a strategist, and I'm really interested in it because I just always loved organizing and just like finding details and stuff that really matter, and that's basically what that career is about. So definitely interested in it. We've learned to be able to work in groups, which is difficult at times because everybody have the different ideas and thoughts and stuff like that. So it was challenging, but definitely taught us a lot. And the work that we're producing, our mentors review the work and they give us feedback. And a lot of the ideas that we initially had have like just completely kind of changed, but like in a good way, and they opened our eyes on how to come up with ideas in a different perspective. Don't always try to come up with something just looking at it like average, like give it a twist. And that was like one of the most important lessons I learned in this boot camp. Like giving something a twist is like really important. And Russell taught us that with his like Burger King commercials, like controversial kind of vibe. That's what I'm gonna just grab people and be like, I want to watch this. Don't just look at stuff and be like, and do a poster. Like twist the poster, twist the video. And like that's the biggest lesson I definitely learned.
The participants of the boot camp engaged in a virtual walkthrough of a creative ad agency with mentor Alex Brueggerman, recruiter and diversity lead at 72 and Sunny, a advertising agency in the U.S. They also were mentored by Russell Dodson, creative director at 72 and Sunny, and former original executive creative director of trailblazing advertising agency, David.
This boot camp is 8 weeks long. The students have 3 projects, and essentially they have 2 weeks to complete the project. And along the way, I invite mentors from the U.S. So I've been grateful to have gotten mentors from 72 and Sunny, which is a pretty great advertising agency in the U.S. So we've had Russell Dodson. He trailblazed David, which is a pretty big agency in the U.S., works on Burger King account a lot. We've had Colin Webb. We've had Taylor Reeves from TBWA. We've had Alex Brueggerman from 72 and Sunny, who's a recruiter and a diversity lead. So he kind of led the students through what's going on in the U.S. and how they could fit in the agency, which was great. And then we're actually having a certificate ceremony and panel discussion on March 27th. And Executive Creative Director of 72 and Sunny and the General Creative Director of 72 and Sunny is going to be there openly discussing how we could eventually advance the creative industry in St Kitts and Nevis.
The National Assembly meets on Thursday, March 18th. Prime Minister and Minister responsible for Finance et al., Dr. Timothy Harris, will introduce and have read for the first time the Companies Amendment Bill 2021, the Proceeds of Crime Amendment Bill 2021, and the Gaming Control Bill 2021. Dr. Harris will also have read for the second time the Miscellaneous Financial Services Amendment Bill 2021, the Non-Government Organization Amendment Bill 2021, and the Virtual Assets Amendment Bill 2021, which had their first readings on March 4th. Dr. Harris will also seek to have the Proceeds of Crime Amendment Bill 2021 read a second time. In other matters, questions from the member of St. Christopher No. 6 and opposition leader Dr. Denzel Douglas centered on the arrangement with the COVAX facility, the vaccine being obtained from the facility, and the sensitization of the public on the vaccine program will be answered. On March 31st, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank intends to launch its digital currency. ECCB Governor Timothy Antwine made that announcement on Tuesday, March 16th.
The moment we've been anticipating will soon be here. I speak of the public rollout of ECCB's digital currency, Dcash. Today, I am very pleased to announce that Dcash will go live on March 31st, 2021. I repeat, Dcash will go live on March 31st, 2021. Dcash is safer, it is faster, and cheaper. Get on board. Get ready. Now. And never forget that the future of the EC dollar is digital. So let's make history together.
Last year, the ECCB announced that on February 21st at the bank's headquarters in Bastille, it signed a contract with the Barbados-based fintech company Bit Inc. for a blockchain-issued central bank digital currency within the ECCU. The move aimed to create a securely minted and issue a digital version of the EC dollar to be distributed and used by licensed financial institutions and non-bank financial institutions for financial transactions between consumers and merchants, including peer-to-peer transactions, all using smart devices. A terminated Barbadian Liat pilot files class action suit. Barbados Today has the story.
A Barbadian pilot who was terminated by regional airline Liat has filed a class action suit against the Antigua and Barbuda government. The constitutional motion was filed last Wednesday and only acknowledged yesterday in writing by the state. It is challenging the constitutionality of the recently amended Companies Act, which prohibits anyone from suing the government over any claims against Liat. Emmanuel Joseph picks up the story.
The motion, lodged by Barbadian pilot Captain Neil Cave on behalf of 9 other current or former Liat flyers, is asking the Antigua and Barbuda High Court to declare that newly amended act unconstitutional. The claimants, who have named the Attorney General of Antigua and Barbuda as the only defendant, want the court to order that they be awarded costs and further and/or other relief the court may deem just. They are also requesting that the court declares that the Companies Amendment Act 2020 is in contravention of the Constitution of Antigua and Barbuda to the extent that it purports to limit the claimant's right to access the court for a determination of the civil claim against Liat 1974 Limited, which was filed in 2015 and was pending at the time the act was enacted by Parliament. In his affidavit, Captain Cave outlined 4 grounds on which relief is being sought. One ground notes that Section 15 of the Constitution of Antigua and Barbuda guarantees a litigant access to the High Court and for the fair hearing of his matter within reasonable time. Another ground says, in that light, Parliament does not have sweeping powers to pass legislation adversely affecting the right to access, especially in circumstances which are not recognized by the Constitution. His sworn affidavit also argues that the Companies Amendment Act 2020 is inconsistent with the Constitution and unlawful to the extent that it seeks to prevent the courts from hearing and determining the Liat pilot's claim, which has been pending before the court in excess of 5 years. The final ground declares that accordingly, the claimants are entitled to approach the High Court pursuant to Section 18 of the Constitution to obtain relief. According to Captain Cave's affidavit, the constitutional motion arose from a matter on May 27, 2015, when the 10 pilots instituted a claim against the employer seeking certain declarations and orders regarding pension monies deposited in an Antigua bank and prior to that into a CLICO International Life Insurance Fund without the authority of the pilots' union and in clear breach of the existing collective and other agreements. The pilots contend that the pension monies ought to have been deposited under the rules of the Liat 1974 Limited Staff Provident Fund 1989 trust deed dated 27 June 1990 arising out of a 1977 arbitration award. The affidavit went on to observe that with the collapse of CLICO, Liat pilots lost over $5 million in monies unlawfully deposited into the CLICO fund by the airline. No date has yet been set for hearing the class action suit. Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.
I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking. China is making moves to push for more cooperation with Guyana, while lifting the bilateral relations between the two countries to a higher level. That announcement came today from Chinese President Xi Jinping, following a virtual meeting with President Irfan Ali and the senior Guyana government team. Next year, Guyana and China will celebrate 50 years of diplomatic relations. In a statement issued by a Chinese news agency, it was stated that during the meeting, President Xi suggested to President Ali that the two countries earnestly respect and accommodate each other's core interests and major concerns, promote Belt and Road cooperation, and expand win-win collaboration in areas such as energy and infrastructure. Xi said the two countries have had fruitful results in cooperation since the establishment of their diplomatic ties, adding that China-Guyana ties showed great potential as the trading between the two sides increased amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The Chinese president is also quoted as saying that China is willing to strengthen COVID-19 vaccine cooperation with Guyana and will continue to assist Guyana in its fight against the pandemic. President Ali gave his appreciation to China for its assistance to Guyana in the fight against COVID-19, stating that the friendship between Guyana and China is strong and tight, according to the Chinese news agency. In a statement this afternoon, the office of the president only indicated that the meeting took place. Vice President Bharat Jagdeo, Foreign Minister Hugh Todd, Finance Minister Ashley Singh, and Works Minister Juan Edgell sat in on the meeting between the Guyanese and Chinese presidents. The meeting between the two presidents came just 1 month after Guyana was forced to cancel an agreement with Taiwan to establish a trade office here, following the objection of China. China considers Taiwan as a breakaway province, and the move by Guyana to establish ties with Taiwan angered the Chinese government, triggering a reversal of the decision by Guyana to allow a Taiwan trade office here.
We now bring you these international reports.
A man's been arrested after 8 people were shot dead in the US city of Atlanta. 6 of them are understood to have been Asian women. The shootings happened at 2 spas and a massage parlor in the city, and police are trying to determine if all those killings are connected, as Mark Lobel reports.
Authorities in Cherokee County were called to Young's Asian Massage. There they found 5 people with gunshot wounds. 2 were pronounced dead at the scene. The other 3 were transported to hospital, where 2 died. The deceased were 2 women of Asian descent, a white woman and a white man, according to the local sheriff's department. The surviving victim is a Hispanic man. His niece spoke to reporters.
And how are they? How is his wife feeling?
She's completely devastated. She's telling all the family to pray for him because we know he will be okay, but we just...
Around an hour later, Police in Atlanta responded to a reported robbery at the Gold Massage Beauty Spa on Piedmont Road and found 3 people dead. While there, police received another call of shots fired directly across the street at the Aromatherapy Spa, where they found 1 person dead. According to Atlanta's police chief, the 4 victims there were female and Asian.
We just heard numerous gunshots coming from across the street. They weren't letting us out. So from what we hear, there's like 5 girls shot. The valet is saying that they had a whole bunch of, no offense, but a whole bunch of Asian girls kind of standing outside in the line, beautiful women. And I'm just like, what exactly is going on here?
The suspect was taken into custody following a police chase around 3.5 hours after the killings. The authorities are working on the assumption the 3 shootings are connected.
The suspect was identified as Robert Aaron Long, 21 years old. He lives in unincorporated Cherokee County. He is currently in custody in Crisp County. We've been communicating with them. My understanding they did a pit maneuver on him and took him into custody, as far as I know, without incident.
In response to the shootings in Atlanta, police patrols have been increased around similar businesses. The FBI says it's assisting as authorities seek to ascertain the motive behind the shootings. Mark Lobel, BBC News.
The 65th Conference on the Status of Women may have lacked the pomp and circumstance of years past, not to mention the number of female participants, but it had something previous conferences did not: the first ever female Vice President of the United States.
It is an honor to address this esteemed commission.
So having a first VP lady in the US, it's just amazing. The most democratic country in the whole world, it's amazing. It's just such a strong message for every woman everywhere.
Promoting women's leadership was the theme of the year's event, but women like Kamala Harris, Germany's Angela Merkel, and New Zealand's Jacinda Ardern remain the exceptions on the world stage. Around the globe, women serve as the head of state or head of government in just some 22 countries. And even here at the United Nations, where women now make up more than 40% of the professional staff, a female Secretary General has yet to be elected. And COVID-19 has been a setback for women. Lockdowns have led to increases in domestic violence, women leaving the workforce, and disruptions to family planning services, particularly in developing countries. The United Nations estimates 12 million women lost access to contraception, resulting in 1.4 million unplanned pregnancies.
The status of democracy also depends fundamentally on the empowerment of women. Not only because the exclusion of women in decision-making is a marker of a flawed democracy, but because the participation of women strengthens democracy. And that's true everywhere.
The new U.S. administration has promised to carry the flag for women at the UN, restoring funding for women's sexual and reproductive health, which was cut by the Trump administration.
Sexual and reproductive health are so important in the part of the world where maternal mortality is so high.
Giving this gathering, despite recent setbacks for women, something to celebrate. Kristen Salumi, Al Jazeera, the United Nations.
More than 1 million Syrians have made their way to Germany in the last 10 years, and while each has a story to tell of how they ended up here, some are particular.
My name is Tarek Alaus. I am 31 years old. I was born in Syria and grew up in Damascus. I have lived in Germany for 5 years. I studied law and I'm a human rights activist.
The Syria Tarek left was a war zone where hundreds of thousands had already been killed, many millions more were homeless, rival armed groups vied for control of cities, and for many people the only option was to flee. First through Turkey, then on to Greece, and up the Balkan Peninsula into Central Europe. The Germany they arrived in was at first welcoming, but facilities were often basic.
I was just very happy because for the first time in years I felt safe. At the same time, I was shocked about the living conditions for refugees. I arrived in Dortmund and was sent to a shelter which is in the middle of the forest with no public transportation around.
Undaunted, Tarek concentrated on learning the language as far as possible and in time to help the many people like him. As grateful as Tarek is, he believes Germany needs to do more to improve integration.
Refugees face systemic discrimination in this society. They're affected by racism and by laws on asylum and residence. Those are experiences that refugees share, and I want to work on bringing about changes in these areas.
Tarek's solution is political. He's applied to become a German citizen and persuaded the Green Party to select him as a candidate in this year's general election.
Never mind that the Greens haven't traditionally prospered in the place Tarek wants to represent. Just by getting into the political contest, he's travelled further than any other Syrian refugee in Germany. And if his citizenship does come through in time, he's determined to fight for a seat here in September. Dominic Kane, Al Jazeera, at the German Parliament.
You were listening to the WINN FM headline news on 98.9. Our top stories were: Food for Creative Souls initiative clearing a path for youth in media. 3 bills to be introduced in the National Assembly on Thursday. A terminated Barbadian Liat pilot files class action suit. Internationally, 8 people, many of them women of Asian descent, have been killed in shootings at spas in the U.S. state of Georgia. Thank you for listening.
That was the WINN FM headline news. The headline news was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM.
For an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Horseroads Building and Nevis Centers are making lawn and garden easy. Come to Horseroads Building and Nevis Center now and get 25% off store-wide on our entire lawn and garden department. Yes! For the months of February and March, Horseroads Building Center and Nevis Center is making improving your lawn and garden easy with 25% off all garden supplies, garden equipment, garden accessories, including weed eaters, lawnmowers, and much more. Get 25% off all lawn and garden items happening now at Horseroads Building Center in St Kitts and Nevis. Horseroads Building and Nevis Centers, making home improvement easy.
Good afternoon, St Kitts and Nevis, and welcome back to another edition of Voices here on WINN FM 98.9. I am your host for this afternoon, Devonne Cornelius. I am so delighted to be joining via Zoom. I am in Nevis today. I'm trying to monitor this developing story with regards to the 8 guests who breached COVID-19 protocols at the resort on Nevis, and so that is why I was staying in Nevis today to see what is happening. But welcome to Voices. I am here. I'm happy to be here. Good afternoon to all of you who have joined us via Facebook and YouTube. Good afternoon to all of you who are listening in the radio land, and of course, those of you by the other social media platforms. You can be a part of this discussion later on in the program by calling us at 466-0989, 762 and 662. Also, we have our WhatsApp number. I have to keep sending out that WhatsApp number because we have been receiving a number of messages via that WhatsApp number. People have been participating very good via that WhatsApp number, which is 662-2204. 662-2204. Good afternoon and welcome to Voices. I am your host, Devonne Cornelius. Now, early on in the program, the first 15 to 20 minutes, I spoke with Mr. Bacchus, with regards to an update about the 8 guests who breached COVID-19 protocols at the Four Seasons Resort. And so they were placed in quarantine at a government facility, and they were expected to meet before the magistrate to answer charges for the offenses that they committed today, this morning. I was at the Charlestown Magistrates Court this morning just after 8, and I was made aware by a very reliable source that the proceedings will take place via Zoom. It is now 12:36 in our studios, and I can only assume that the court hearing is over. I will be touching base with my source to see if they would be able to provide me, with any further details. As I said before, some would want to say that this is not a big issue, and we should leave them alone and allow them some privacy, because I know whenever it comes around to a different set of people, we act kind of funny, and we maybe we get intimidated. I don't know. Maybe we get intimidated. But this is a serious matter. It is a very, very serious matter. And again, we have been doing very well with regards to managing the pandemic here in St Kitts and Nevis. Thank God, to date, we have no community spread. Thank God our cases are low. Our active cases are very low. Thank God that we were able to keep this virus under control. We have seen the damage it has done across the Caribbean region and, of course, across the world, where so many have died, so many have lost loved ones, and people are still mourning the deaths of their loved ones because of the havoc COVID wreaked. But we have a caller on the line. Let's welcome this caller. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm doing fine.
Yeah, I called in this morning pertaining to the incident that took place in Nevis. Although, what I would like to talk about is a different topic. But I'm going to touch on that. Having worked in the hotel industry, I have encountered people, I mean visitors that come visit the hotel that I worked at, they might get upset. And I work in the restaurant, and I've seen where a party of 4 might come and they might be unhappy about something. And what they did, they spat in the utensils upon leaving. In their ways, they spat in the utensils. And it's one thing that I always say to my coworker: never put your fingers inside of a glassware, or let your finger go on the plate and touching, I try to guide my coworkers as to how to operate in that industry. But I'm saying that to say, here we have 8 people come here, and they have breached the COVID on the hotel that they were staying. Now, you would have thought that security would have been beefed up at the hotel. I mean, Four Seasons is an open resort. I've been to Four Seasons, and guests can walk from the hotel, go on the beach, and exit the property and go places. So you would have thought that security would have been beefed up, knowing that these people are here and they're supposed to be quarantined. Clearly, that didn't happen. And this is very serious, because what if those 8 people have the virus? Now, how would that spread to the community in Nevis and even here in St Kitts? This is very serious, and there's a silence on this that shouldn't be. We should be outraged, and we shouldn't just allow them to pay whatever $500, which is nothing to them. We don't know the intention as to why they breach the COVID procedure that we have. And what are we going to do? Wait until there's a spread in our community and then have a talk shop about it? This is something that the whole community, the whole federation should be outraged about, and we're not hearing this. Now, what I really want to touch on was and I'm going back to, I'm so pro-black, and I see myself as a Pan-Africanist. The president of Ghana have just told Switzerland that they're not exporting any more cocoa to Switzerland. Cornelius, I'm sure you have bought chocolate before, if you're a lover of chocolate. Switzerland is manufacturing all these Cadbury chocolate, they even build a chocolate city in Switzerland. And I'm so happy that the president of Ghana is now saying, no, enough is enough. And we in the Caribbean and CARICOM, we need to support these presidents on the African continent. I mean, I'm aware of corruption, but there are some good presidents, like the president of Ghana and the president of Tanzania. There might be others that I don't know. But CARICOM need to get on board and support the African continent, because until Africa rise up, this race will never, never be respected. Enough is enough. Thank you for listening.
And thank you so much, caller, for your input on our program. You are listening to Voices on WINN FM 98.9. And caller, if I may agree with you, 120 guests applied to come to our country. 120. And they applied to stay at the Four Seasons. Now, prior to the pandemic, the resort employed more than 600 employees, more than 600 employees. And because of the economic fallout brought on by the COVID, they were forced to let go some staff. Now, if you're going to bring in 120 guests, one would think that you would call in reinforcement. One would think that you would call those people who are home, not working, unable to pay their bills, unable to make ends meet. One would think that you would call them and say, look, a group is coming in and we would need your assistance for a day or 2 or 3 or whatever, so that they could make a little money, to keep things flowing. I don't know if that was the case, but based on what happened, it suggests to me that that was the case, and that they didn't have enough staff to handle the situation. I understand how it is at the Four Seasons. It's very open. You can walk from the beach straight over to the hotel and vice versa. So it's very easy to access the hotel because it's open. It's not a fenced-in area. But considering the circumstances that we are under, COVID, vacation in place, keep the local population safe, you have to be on your guard. You have to be on your guard, and you have to make sure that you have enough security to control and to keep the place under control, basically, at the resort. And so I lay the blame at the feet of those responsible. Because, mistakes happen, don't get me wrong. Things would happen because we are human beings and we are not perfect. But we have to understand that this is a serious matter. And if we continue to have this mentality that, let's just give them a chance because this and that and this and that, then we're going to end up in problems. We're going to end up in problems. And so it is a very serious issue that we are dealing with here. And we await to hear from the authorities as to whether they will be what the charges, they would be laying at the feet of these guests. If you are just tuning in, you are listening to WINN FM 98.9 for another edition of Voices. I am your host, Devonne Cornelius. I received a question here, how the Four Seasons even passed the requirement for a place to quarantine, if that's the case. That is a very good question. That is a very, very good question. What I can say is that, I'll be frank with you, I do not know. I know it's an open area, but then again, there's some other resorts in St Kitts and Nevis that are quite open and not very fenced in. You can access the beaches that are nearby. You can access the bars that are nearby. And so I'm not sure if they had asked them to, put in proper fencing, because you don't really want the guests to feel like, they're in jail or anything. All that I'm saying, we have a caller on the line. Caller, Good afternoon. You're live on Voices.
Good afternoon, Devonne. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm doing fine, and you?
Oh, yeah, give my love to the whole of Nevis.
Great, great. Thank you.
So have they already been charged?
As it is now, I am not sure. I understand that they appeared before the magistrate this morning via Zoom. I guess it's because of the number of guests, 8 guests, and the magistrate's court, if you've been there before, is very small. And so to have 8 of them in there is kind of impossible. And so they met via Zoom. As it is now, Ms. Henry, I'm not sure if they have been charged, but I am in contact with my source, and so I'm waiting for some information from them.
The next question, have they been tested since?
Have they been
retested?
That is a very good question. However, I do not have the answer for that. We are trying to see.
Are they waiting until the 14 days up?
Pardon?
Yeah, you have any idea how long they've been here? Because they usually test them on the 14th day.
No, when they came here on Thursday last week.
Oh.
They came here on Thursday last week, and so that is a very good observation that you made too. Nobody's going to come here for vacation, Miss Henry, and spend 14 weeks in quarantine, 14 days in quarantine. You know,
But they were vacationing in place.
They were vacationing in place, which is right.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you is that they came on Thursday. Sources have said that they came on Thursday, and they were scheduled to leave on Monday. So I don't know whether they tested them when they came the Thursday, and then they probably want to test them again. But what I was made to understand was that they test them before they put them in quarantine, and the results came back that it was negative. However, the individuals who came into contact with these guests, they were asked to, be quarantined. So they were placed in quarantine.
Another thing, what is the mood like in Nevis since this? Why I asked?
Well, what I would say to that, Miss Henry, is that people are asking a lot of questions. People are asking a lot of questions. When you walk, I was in town this morning, and I was there at the in front of the magistrate's court, waiting out to see if they would come. And people, the air was a bit busy. In my opinion, it was a bit busy. People were waiting to see, what's going to happen here.
Now, why I ask, it has to do in relation to the response to the vaccine. Last night I was listening to Weber show on One, and one of the panelists said that he learned that only 23 persons had taken the vaccination on, I think it was Monday, either Monday or Tuesday. He was looking at the low response. So I am wondering now, since you have had this breach, if there has been a change in the response, seeing that people don't know really who has been exposed. But what kind of size?
That is a very good question, Ms. Henry. What I could say to that is that people have been going out to get vaccinated. Of course, there is still people are still a bit skeptical to take in the vaccine, but people have been going out. Hold on, people have been going out to take the vaccine. After this incident, took place at the resort, I don't know what the response is like now, but that is definitely something that I could follow up on.
Yeah, follow up, because people might say, well, I don't know if my cousin have it or somebody brought it home.
Yes, that's a very good question.
According to the information given, the aim of the vaccine is to prevent you from becoming seriously ill. So I am saying, and then the movement between St Kitts and Nevis is open.
It is.
That's another story, I don't think we St Kitts have thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because persons who could have been at the club could have come to Nevis or to St Kitts,
Right. Well, Miss Henry, again, very good observation. I was made to understand that some people from St. Kitts were placed in quarantine because they were in Nevis at the time, when the guests them went to that night spot. And so it affected both St. Kitts and Nevis. There were people who came over from St. Kitts.
Thought about that. They're thinking, Nevis, Nevis. You know, and I want our people to be a little more careful, because that is what caused all this trouble in Barbados, that they are unable to get control up to now.
Yeah.
In Jamaica, the same thing. And sometimes we give people the impression that when they come here, they could do as they like.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe when they come in, we need to give them the paper that says if you break quarantine, this is what you have to pay. Because sometimes they,
I don't know, but I think they're too soft with them, because they know the rules, they know what they're supposed to be doing. They know that, look, you breach quarantine, these are the consequences.
Next question, there must have been a security guard on duty that night, and it happened Thursday and it happened again Sunday. So what happened? Nobody report the Thursday one?
But that's what I'm saying, and so that is why I let the blame at the feet of Four Seasons, because if this incident happened in the first instance on Thursday night, and you allow it to happen again on Saturday night, then it's ridiculous.
Yeah, because you must have noticed that they were missing from the compound, and right. You see, maybe because you look at what they're paying or whatever. For example, at the Royal St Kitts, they tag you. So if you see, these had promised to put an app. Part is their fault, They were promised to put an app on the phones when you come in. They have not done it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not able to track the people. So I am praying for my country, and I encourage everybody to pray. And all of those who have events who refuse to cooperate and take the names and the whatever, so you can do contact tracing, you better start now.
Mm-hmm. What I would say to that, Ms. Henry, I would just want to encourage people to continue to practice in the non-pharmaceutical measures in terms of wearing the mask and practicing social distancing, washing your hands. I wouldn't want to tell anybody to take the vaccine or not to take it, because they have said that we're not qualified to tell people whether they should take the vaccine or not. So I'm not going to tell anybody to take it, and I'm not going to tell anybody not to take it. What I would say,
I would also say, when you're making your decision, it must be based on something. Because you now have a situation where you, not you personally, you may be infected, and you have got to sort out yourself. A lot of people here have all kind of conspiracy theories. And COVID don't care. I mean, the death, I was listening to I'm going to finish now, the news this morning. And I think BBC or whatever. And they were talking, Mr. Fayette was talking about the response. And he's saying, while it has gone from 300,000 a day to 50,000, it's still too much. And our people must take things seriously. All of us have I have my misgivings too, But I have got to look at the future, the long-term effect of getting the COVID and the contradictions it has on the body. So I wouldn't tell anybody to go or not to go, but I would say make a sensible and not an emotional and not a political decision, All right then. So anyway, you take care of yourself, because you don't know who is up there. I know it's your country, but you don't know who is who. So protect yourself.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ms. Henry, for your input. We have another caller on the line. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices.
Yeah, hello. How are you, man?
Good afternoon. I'm doing fine, and you?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm just getting some sporadic in and outs. I'm trying to listen here, but from what I'm hearing like 120 people came into Four Seasons, and some of them might have breached the quarantine.
Yes, 120 guests came to the Four Seasons. 8 of them breached quarantine.
Okay, the way I'm feeling, man, I believe that this stuff needs to be investigated, man, because this stuff could have been a setup, man, because the authorities in St Kitts and Nevis, they cannot be taking nothing for granted. St Kitts and Nevis, they on the world stage, bro. This is not like back in, back in the days. The whole world right now, they're watching St Kitts and Nevis. I spoke to the premier in Nevis one time about security there, and security got to be beefed up in them two islands, bro. Because of the fact that St Kitts and Nevis is doing so well with this COVID virus stuff, from weeks and months ago when this COVID virus started, when they was doing really good at the outset, when they didn't have no cases, because I'm calling from the U.S. and we over here, we're watching St. Kitts and Nevis, and we technically rooting for you guys. But one thing that I know in my mind, they're going to have people that's going to try to come there and infiltrate, bro. You guys got to be careful with that. Don't think that people would not do that. People will come to St. Kitts and Nevis and intentionally spread the COVID virus. This stuff, I believe, needs to be an investigation, a thorough investigation. The authorities there cannot be taking nothing for granted, man. And I wish you guys the best with that. But another thing I heard when your callers talking about that Pan-African thing, the tourist industry, they need to think about getting some direct flights from Africa. And in terms of trade, back and forth, this is the time for this Pan-African thing to start, because there's a chance for it to happen because of the limited spread of COVID virus in Africa. The tourist industry needs to target Africa to get some flights in. And I believe that this is the chance to open up those direct links with Africa, whether it be in the tourist industry, and that can start trade also as well. So they need to target Africa, man. It needs to. And I wish you guys the best of luck. That's my contribution.
Right. Thank you, caller, so much for your input. You are listening to WINN FM's Voices. I am your host, Devonne Cornelius. We are still taking your calls. The numbers to call are 466-0989, 762, and 662. We also have our WhatsApp number, which is 662-2204. Of course, we have another caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller. You are live in Voices. We seem to have lost that call. Caller, you can call us back at 466-0989. The caller is back. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices.
Hi. I'm just calling in relation to the incident, along with other stuff. At the end of the day, I think there are laws in place. And as the caller before said, there are certain things called espionage, sabotage, and if something looking too good. However, at the end of the day, I think our people, I'm not going to say black people, I'm just going to say the people think they need it, are too accommodating sometimes. And they always believe money is the answer for everything, and therefore, to get money, put everything aside. We need them to come to big money. But according to the scriptures, the love of money, not money, the love of it is the root of all evil. And therefore, if you put money in front of everything, certain things are going to happen. The next thing, the laws of the land should prevail. If the laws say, I think you make provision for custody and paying a fine. So I think the judicial system should take the course. Sometimes I know persons want to let it be and do this and do that. But when our nationals go to other countries and they break those laws, I don't think anybody from here will go and ask for leniency for that. Our persons pay the price and do the tithe. And if the judicial system says something, so let it be. If it gives the magistrate discretion to either custody or put a fine, well, the magistrate should know which one is best based on the circumstances. However, I must also say there are a lot of persons suspicious about the vaccine. But some people say if it's not broken, don't fix it. But there's also a saying, 1 ounce of prevention is better than £1 million of cure. If you do not know what that means, there are a lot of persons who are ageable and remember those proverbs or sayings, as they will say, and it is for our community. It is better to take the vaccine, and encouraging persons is not a must. But at the same time, there was a saying as well back in the day, the Englishman said, "Which we take two." Now I show you, or some other persons might have gone to the vaccine site, and look around, you see something. Look around. This thing was for the nationals and the residents of St Kitts and Nevis. And as far as I'm concerned, the law is, as long as even if you come on vacation, you'll have permit as long as you hear the government is responsible. So if somebody come here for vacation and they want to go for the vaccine, they will go for it. So why, if we live here, we cannot go for it? I know there are a lot of myths and so forth. And the sad thing about it, those myths are loud and clear. And sometimes persons have an itching ear as opposed to want to listen and work out what is best. That's all I have to say. An ounce of prevention is better than £1 million of cure. You have a blessed one.
You have a good one too, and thank you so much, caller, for your input. If we have no calls at this time, we'll take a short break to say thank you from our sponsors, and when we return, we will continue our program. Continue to listen to WINN FM 98.9 for another edition of Voices. I am your host for today, Devonne Cornelius.
Get ready for an exciting year with Flow Broadband and TV, connecting you at home. Sign up now and get a free Samsung tablet worth over $900. Up to 100 megabits per second blazing internet will keep everyone on top of everything every day. While Flow TV delivers the best home entertainment with the latest shows on demand in HD, plus favorites you can record. Visit your nearest Flow store today to sign up for Flow Broadband and TV and get your free Samsung tablet. Conditions apply.
Supermarket shoppers understand that convenience matters. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Ample parking and the widest variety matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Clean, spacious aisles and the highest level of customer service all matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, price matters most. We've renewed our commitment to guarantee the lowest prices in the Federation. Why? Because we understand that in this tough economic environment, price matters most. Shop smart. Shop Value Mart, where price matters most. Farms Estate Nevis and Wellington Road, St. Kitts.
Price matters most.
Caller, good afternoon. You're live on Voices. Good afternoon, caller. You're live on Voices. Hello? Oh, sorry. We seem to have lost that call. So sorry for the inconvenience. Caller, you can call us back here at 466-0989. 762 and 662. We have another call. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices.
I'm back again.
Yes.
Now, in the news in Atlanta, you would have heard the news about the killing of these people.
Yes.
I think 6 of them were of Asian descent. Now, what I have to say may offend some of our people, especially a caller. Now, it has been reported in the USA that there has been an uptick in discrimination against people of East Asian descent. And it has been shown that it has increased based on the former president's rhetoric, where, of course, he blamed not only the corona on the Chinese, which may or may not be true, but with constant repetition, indirectly blamed the Chinese for the death of the Americans. China, 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 China COVID, while Americans dying like flies. Now, sometimes in our enthusiasms for our race, sometimes you don't know who you're speaking to, you know. It is true, we must love our people, but when we have to do it at the expense of other races, we are putting other people at risk. Other people who may not be guilty. So it's China, then you go down and you attack. We complain about whites discriminating against us, but certain elements of the black population take it upon themselves to take revenge. And usually the wrong set of people, you know. The wrong set. Because remember, race is not to do with power. And often it is the poor ones. America is full of militia, white racists and so. There's no getting away from it. But when you start to hate a whole race, we are in trouble. You know? I thought about it because, they said sometimes the old Asian men, they beat that old man, or they beat him up so because of the China. People of influence must watch what they say. I keep saying it all the time, you know, even with the corona. People of influence must watch what they say. You may have it like a joke and like a little thing, but there are people who believe in you, trust in you, who take it to another level, and you can't say that you're not responsible. We have the same thing in St Kitts with the corona. People of influence who themselves are medical doctors who know the effect, who know the questions, they know the answers that ordinary people are asking before they step up to the plate and educate. They create all kind of things in the mind of people, whether you're a pastor, a preacher, a teacher, even you, Devonne. When you get behind the mic, you're an influencer. Not influencer, you know. You're an influencer. You influence people's thought, people's direction. And we must think about what we say and what we do, investigate, whatever. Because at the end of the day, some innocent soul going to suffer because the people, they're just all over. Like a lady was saying she came from Korea. She didn't come from China. One said she came from the Philippines. But as far as they're concerned, once you look, say you're Chinese. Taiwanese are not the same as the mainland Chinese, you know. They look alike and everything. So we have got to watch when we preach in racism. It is different to love of race. I'm a Pan-Africanist as much as anybody else, but I will not take it to the extent of some people. We just hate anybody white, anybody Chinese, anybody. Because I have traveled a lot, and I've met a lot of them. All right, then.
Right. Thank you so much for your input. We are still taking calls here on our program. If I have some time, I would like to allude to what a previous caller said. You know, yes, we have been doing well. It's not that we're boasting and we're saying that, you know, we're the best off here in St Kitts and Nevis. But we have to bear in mind that there are some people who will come here, and there are some people that will say, oh, let's try to mess up St Kitts and Nevis because they're COVID-free. But we have a caller on the line. Let us take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices.
Devonne, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Today. I am well. How about you?
Not bad at all. I'm doing fine.
Please stay safe and stay well. Devonne, you know what's really frightening for me? This is a real teaching moment for all of us here. We have been basking in the comfort that we're COVID-free, we're COVID-free, we're COVID-free. That's all we've been hearing about, okay?
Yes.
And people on, whether it be Thursday night or Saturday night, that were just, as they know, out enjoying themselves innocently, and now being told they have to stay home for the next 2 weeks, and they won't be paid because they happen to be in a point where other persons were who breached the protocols. Right. We have no control over this situation. That's the part that's frightening. You don't know who you're standing next to. You don't know whose company you're in. You don't know what the other results. I was told yesterday or the day before, yesterday, that a person who was apparently somewhere in the company of these people on Saturday night did not come to work on Monday. And the person that was telling me this went on to say, God is working, because had that person came to work on Monday, maybe all of the persons in her business place would have been asked to go home. So this can also ripple. It keeps turning over. Devon, I keep scratching my head, and I'm trying to understand something. I understand this is a popular time for vacation across the world. It's called spring break. People go all over.
Yes, it is.
But a group of 100 to 120 people coming here sounds so unusual to me at this time because of the calls we have in St Kitts and Nevis. So my first question would be, why would they choose to come to a place where they're going to be locked down and be in the same position that they would have been where they were coming from? Because they're searching on vacation to go to some place where they're free. They want the beach. They want sunshine. They want all these things. They can't get that, unfortunately, in St Kitts and Nevis right now. So why was the choice of St Kitts and Nevis being made? The other thing I have a question about, and I would ask the task force, the COVID task force, to come forward because they've been very quiet on this. Please explain to people what's the difference between the vacation in place and the vacation where the locals take it. Because my understanding is that when they vacation in place, their quarantine is not as long as 14 days. Why? Why is that? If my understanding is correct. So we need clarification on this. And I'm going to tell you something. This is not the first time this has been happening. Now, my other questions are, the Four Seasons Resort had a responsibility to protect those guests and the protocols and themselves. And we all know Four Seasons has very tight security there. So how did these people get out of the hotel and get to where they went to? What happened to security? Where was the breakdown? What really happened here? Again, let me just say this, it's very frightening. And perhaps it's for the good. There's never a bad wind that blows. Because for all those who've been saying they're not going to take the vaccine, perhaps this is the situation or the moment that would push them to make the decision to not only, one, protect themselves, but protect all those around them. Because had you been out to the nightclub that night, and then you went back home, your family members, your children, your neighbors, your parents, the people you work with, all of them becomes subject for being exposed. Where do we go from here with this? But the bigger issue is we need to get to the bottom of what really happened. Why did these people choose to come to Nevis? And in doing that, knowing what they should have known, and let me say that carefully, knowing what they should have known, made the decision to callously walk out of the hotel and go to a nightclub and all that, knowing that they weren't supposed to do that. That's the question that I want answered from somebody, because it has now put all of us in jeopardy. Someone mentioned it back earlier where they said there were people in that nightclub who had come over from St Kitts to enjoy the evening. So guess what? It's not just Nevis. This thing could have been taken back to as well. You know, you know what I'm saying, Devonne? So, you know, where does it leave us? Where does it leave us? Where are we going with this? It's really, really frightening. People, go out and get the vaccine. Cover yourselves. I've had it now for a week, over a week, going on 2 weeks. I've had no side effects. The people closest to me in my home have all had it. We have had no side effects. Protect yourselves, because you don't know where you could be innocently standing in the presence of people who are callously doing stuff and could be jeopardizing you and your entire family. Thank you, Devonne.
Thank you so much, Tessa, for your contribution. We are still taking calls here on WINN FM 98.9 for another edition of Voices. We will take just maybe 3 or 4 more calls, as it is 18 minutes past the hour of 1, and I would want to, give some response into what was said by the previous callers. We have another caller on the line. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices.
Hey, good afternoon, Devon. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm doing fantastic. I'm giving thanks for life.
Oh, good. I would like to support the last caller who mentioned on the question line, where was security? Were they being paid, or they just get paid just to say that they have security? Because all these things were set up. The mechanism was set up by the task force so that security would be in place for these guests who are in quarantine, not 4 seasons only, but on St Kitts, as far as I know. And so therefore, it shed some light on the position of how the parameter is set up with the security and how they get out without the security knowing for such a long period of time before the alarm went off. So therefore, something is really wrong with the security. The other thing is, when it comes to us, our people in St Kitts, we're in a very safe and secure zone mentally. We are secure until we find out that we are not as secure as we think we are secure. And so the thing is, most people are not going to go and take the vaccination until so many people have taken it. And I'm sure there are lots of people who are speaking about taking it. They have not gone yet to take it. And so therefore, something seriously going to have to happen. Like that have to be on their doorstep for them to understand the seriousness of this virus. It is killing, and even though you might get it, and even though you get over it, it apparently that you will never be the same again. So the thing is that the best advice to give, which I'm not capable of giving, but by example, the best way to do is to go and take the vaccine. Defend yourself. Defend your family. Because you really don't know who is who. If you notice, most people in St Kitts, they don't wear a mask. They don't wash their hands. When they speak, they come right up in your space and they're speaking. And trust me, you're fully aware of the golf balls that leave people mouth. And you also aware of the vacuum, especially if you're running. If you're running and you're walking, the kind of vacuum and the pull that you have to pull in your lungs, you could take anything down in those lungs. And so those who failing to wear masks, those who failing to wash their hands, they could jeopardize you. And don't tell them to move out your space, else you're going to start a big argument. So as long as your feet can move, stay away from them. Stay the distance, take your own position. Don't wait for them to do it for you. But the best position that even if you take the vaccination, wear your mask, wash your hands. Sanitation go a long way. And for some reason or another, we get very relaxed. I don't know why. Like, it's okay. It's not okay. Close in Antigua, people in the hospital, people are sick. So many people right now, they're having quarantine in Antigua, and they're just on the other side. And we act as if everything is okay. It's not okay. I think I have said enough. Have a good day.
Thank you, caller, so much for your input here on WINN FM 98.9. You are listening to Voices. I am your host, and we are still taking your calls. I'm your host, Devonne Cornelius, and we are still taking your calls. The numbers to call are 466-0989-762 and 662. We also have our WhatsApp number, which is 662-2204. We have another caller on the line. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices.
Hey, good afternoon. Very interesting conversation surrounding the whole vaccine. Now, one of the problems there is about this vaccine is it an experimental vaccine? Are we sure it's going to work? Everybody could say anything about this particular vaccine or these vaccines that are out there. Now, the same people who recognize these vaccines and put them on the market, have you ever heard about OPI?
From OTI?
Opioid.
Oh, yes,
it was
opioid.
a drug.
Okay. Yes, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah. And you know, the whole controversy about that particular drug, it was approved by the FDA. It was put out there. Doctors was prescribing it. It was killing people. It killed hundreds of thousands of people that are addicted. It was heroin. Heroin was a part of that concoction. They knew the side effects, but yet it was on the market for many, many years. Now people are paying millions or billions of dollars in compensation. Now, this is the whole thing about these vaccines, is the trust. The people who are responsible, they're not trustworthy. There are many other drugs that were pulled off the shelf because of, people neglect to see the effects of these vaccines, what was just money-making schemes. So that is one of the scary things about taking a vaccine that is supposed to be experimental, and we don't know what the side effects would be in the long term, what's going to be happening. But you can't bash somebody because they're not taking the vaccine or they're not ready to take the vaccine. I don't see if for some reason down the line there are these adverse effects about these vaccines. They're experimental, and people got to know that. And I don't think nobody should be forced. It shouldn't be made mandatory that anybody should take these vaccines. Thank you.
Thank you, caller, so much for your input. We are now going to close our phone lines. It is 25 minutes past the hour of 1, and I'm just going to begin wrapping up this program. The caller before, Tessa, made a very interesting point. You don't know who you're standing next to. Sometimes I would go to the supermarket, or I would go to somewhere, and people all up underneath of you, you know. They don't want to move, they don't have on a mask, and they just cannot respect your personal space. And so you have to be so careful who you are standing next to. That is why I would say wear your mask. The simple pharmaceutical measures will help us in the long run. Wear your face mask. And I am begging and I am pleading to those people to stop wear your mask under your chin. Wear your mask because you just don't know. Let's just say that I had decided to go down there, the beach, Saturday night or Thursday night. Let's just say I had decided to go down there. No, I would have been placed in quarantine. I have nieces and nephews. They would have been in quarantine too, little children. And so you just have to be careful. You have to be careful because you don't know who you're interacting with. Now, as I was saying earlier, St Kitts and Nevis is seen across the world as a place that has no COVID. We have been managing the pandemic quite well here. We don't have much active cases. We don't have any community spread, thank God. And so the question the caller posed before, why would 120 something people come here? Now, there's so many ways to answer that question. What I would say is that, well, they're saying St. Kitts and Nevis have no COVID, has no COVID. So let's go there. 2, there's some bad-minded people. You know, I'm not saying that they are bad-minded, but I'm telling you, there's some bad-minded people out there. Oh, well, St. Kitts and Nevis have no COVID, so let's go over there and contaminate their waters. Anybody who does that is selfish. And I am calling upon the authorities. I don't know the status of the court hearing, know whether they have been charged and how much they have been charged. But I could say this. These 8 guests who broke quarantine, I can assume that they have been following the news here in St. Kitts and Nevis. When that guest who came here some time ago breached quarantine, he got a slap on the wrist. The government responded soft. It was a soft response from the government and the task force. A slap on the wrist. If you breach quarantine, the consequences should be harsh. That is how I feel about it. That is how I feel about it. You may have a different opinion. That is totally fine. But we have to understand that this is a serious matter. This is a very serious matter, and we cannot continue to say, oh, okay, we're going to give them a chance because they got the money, and then we don't want St. Kitts to look bad, we don't want Nevis to look bad, and them kind of rubbish there. And so these guys, they came here, and they decide to do what they want to, and decide to breach quarantine, and now people are home out of a payday. People are home, they are unable to go to work. People are home, and people are frightened, because if I was down there, I would have been frightened too. I said, I got COVID now because I would have interacted with these guests. I did not, I'm just drawing a reference, you know. But this is a very serious matter. And I hope that the authorities will continue to be very harsh. I don't see any leniency in this. You come here, we were asked to quarantine. Vacation in place, you know, you get everything there. Vacation in place, you get everything there. And you're going to come here and breach quarantine? Who do you think you be? No. And so I am calling upon the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, upon the authorities, to be a bit more harsh. When people come here and decide that they want to do what they want to do, follow the law. You can't come here and do as you please. You can't come here and do as you please. You cannot come here and do as you please. Follow the law. What I would end this program by saying is continue to follow the pharmaceutical measures. Wear your mask over your nose. Wash your hands. Make sure you have hand sanitizer. Try to clean surfaces as often touched surfaces as often as possible. And be on your guard. Be careful who you interact with, because you don't know. You just don't know. Stay safe. Wear your mask. Give thanks for life. Thank you guys so much for being a part of Voices today. It was indeed a pleasure hosting from the comfort of my home through Zoom. It was a wonderful experience, and thank you guys so much. To all of you who joined us via Zoom and the other social media platforms, via Facebook, and YouTube and the other social media platforms. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of our program. You are listening to WINN FM's 98.9 Voices with your host, Devonne Cornelius. Until next time, stay safe. Have a good one. Today is the 17th day of March, Wednesday 2021. And have a wonderful Wednesday. Give thanks for life, everybody. Have a good one.
Horseroads Building and Nevis Centers are making lawn and garden easy. Come to Horseroads Building and Nevis Center